So good afternoon, good morning to some of you, early in the morning in the US, in Mexico, in Latin America. We also had a speaker from Australia, where it's already, I guess, getting really, really late. So really exciting to have such a wonderful global audience, and I'm excited to welcome Sara Pittarello, the Managing Director of Uni Collaboration. We're really honored that Sara has joined us here. She will talk about virtual exchanges, and then I will also add my 2 cents about the topic, really something that I'm personally passionate about. And the reason I'm excited that Sara is leading the session first is that the Uni collaboration and platform and network actually is something that I started off my virtual exchange journey. So I'm really grateful. I found this website and I started partnering with colleagues around the world and learning about this world, this interesting initiative and everything. You will find out exactly what it is now from Sara. I think we are good to go. Everything is being recorded and we have people who have joined us. So I think we can start. Sara, will you share your screen and begin?
Okay, so thank you again. It is indeed an honor for me to be here, and I must admit I am admired by Elena's enthusiasm. Whenever we speak, she is really passionate. So yeah, I feel really grateful for her invitation, and I do appreciate the great work she's doing. So sorry for this premise, but it needed to be done. I just hope, I see there might be quite a few experts among you, so I hope I won't get you bored with my presentation. Please feel free to stop me in case the concepts I share with you are too basic level for you. And second thing I would like to ask is, I have already told Elena, as you know, when you are online, a lot of things may happen. So I have asked Elena just to let me know if I get frozen, because the worst scenario is that I keep speaking without anybody listening to me, which may happen and has already happened to me a couple of times. So I shall start now. I have tried, let me check if it all works. Yes, I will now share, sorry. Okay, I will share with you the second screen and I will now start, and please let me know if you can all see the presentation.
Yeah.
Okay, is it working all right? And you see the full screen, great. Okay, so I will try to give you a couple of ideas about what virtual exchange is all about. But to do that, I would like to start with a timeline, to then move on to the definition of what virtual exchange is and about what virtual exchange is not. I will then briefly dwell upon the 2 main types of virtual exchange. And to conclude, I would like to leave you with true and real cases, real scenarios about virtual exchange in the field of higher education. Virtual exchange can be applied to many different sectors, but I had the perception that most of you come from the higher education sector. So this will be the sector I will focus upon today. But to start with, I would really like you to work for a second right now. So I will now pose you 2 questions and I will stop sharing my presentation because I would like you to answer my questions. The first question will be, are you familiar with the concept of virtual exchange? And for that, I would like you to use, when I stop sharing my screen, to use the thumb up option on Zoom. Second question, for which I would like you to share, to use the chat and share your ideas, is, what does virtual exchange mean for you in one word? Let's say one phrase, okay? So I will now stop sharing my screen and I will recap the questions in the chat. So the first question is, are you familiar with the concept of virtual exchange? And for that, please raise your hand. Okay, so I see some faces I already know. Okay, Some of you are not familiar, so thank you to you too. So I'm not telling things which aren't too obvious. Okay, so we have a mixture of experts and lay person to the field of virtual exchange. And now the second question. And feel free to also use the chat, and especially use the chat for that. We won't have time right now to speak to listen to all of your contribution, but we will have time for questions later. So in the chat, somebody has already started. What does virtual exchange mean for you in one word? Okay, so we have adventure, accessibility, conferences, professional development. Wow, Zoom, communication. Thank you. Opportunity. I'm glad we have different perspectives. A great opportunity to boost internationalization. Workshops, exchanging ideas and platforms. You're all getting different perspectives of what is involved in virtual exchange. So yeah, let's leave a couple of seconds for somebody else willing. Soft skills. Science, diplomacy. Wow. I should take notes.
Most of woke up, looked at the screen. Yeah, virtual exchange is about soft skills for sure.
Okay, so feel free to continue using the chat. I won't have the opportunity to watch it right now, but I will for sure look at your ideas once I have finished my presentation. And now let's enter into the deep of my speech and contribution today. So these were the questions where we left. And now let's move on to the following slide, the timeline. It all started back to around 1998, and I'm sure many of you are familiar with the term telecollaboration, which started from the language field, because that is where the first experiments with technology, enabling people from across various geographical areas, could get in touch and discuss. So the language field was the first into which virtual exchange was implemented and tested. Then little by little, we had several steps. So Solia was created in 2003, and Solia is a US-based organization, and their main aim was to enable people from the Southern Mediterranean and the United States to get in touch and to discuss so as to overcome media mainstream and to avoid hatred through communication and exchange. So that was the main target. Then in 2006, the SUNY COIL Center was created. I'm sure you are familiar with the term COIL. SUNY stands for State University of New York, and COIL stands for Collaborative Online International Learning. That was the first attempt to implement virtual exchange projects in different disciplines. And it was it is still a US initiative trying to collaborate with universities worldwide. Then back in 2011, the Virtual Exchange Coalition, the so-called VEC Coalition, was created. And the main idea behind that was to create a network of researchers and practitioners to help the field of virtual exchange evolve even further. Sorry, this is a place where many people and my children come by. So if you see somebody passing beside me, it's precisely due to that. So, and this is the good aspect of having to work from home. Then 2014, Students Initiative, that is again a US initiative. The name, its name is after a US ambassador who was killed on a mission. And that the main aim behind the Student Initiatives is to create an international effort to build global competence and career readiness skills for young people in the United States and the Middle East and North Africa. And then back in 2018, the European Union decided through the European Commission to test and experiment virtual exchange in Europe. This is when the Erasmus Plus Virtual Exchange Initiative was set through a tender. And we, as Uni Collaboration, together with many other partners, participated in this consortium, which was led by Search for Common Ground. It was back in 2018 that universities started to institutionalize virtual exchange. These were the very first attempts. And it was back in 2016 that Uni Collaboration was set. So let's have a look briefly at what virtual exchange is and what it is not. Virtual exchange, and I would like to stress this, is first and foremost a pedagogy, which has been developed thanks to these 30 years of experience in the field of language education, as I told you before, telecollaboration, educational exchange, and study abroad. It is, of course, enabled through technology, but I would like to stress that technology is just the tool enabling it to take place, but it is not the first and most important point and aspect of virtual exchange. And another great element of virtual exchange is the people-to-people communication. So it is a peer-led approach, sustained over a period of time. It is not just one shot. It needs several communications to be considered, exchanges and interactions to be considered a virtual exchange. Media platforms are indeed required to enable deep interactive social learning. And we need to have qualified facilitators to ensure that the interactions are meaningful. Virtual exchange promotes, for sure, reciprocity. It allows for scale. It has a scalable approach, allowing for equity and inclusiveness and inclusion. And I would like to stress the very last point, because very frequently people ask me, well, so this is a substitute to physical exchange, and we have many people who are not, I cannot say against, but a little bit skeptical about virtual exchange, precisely because they believe that it is against or something as an alternative to physical exchange, while it is not. I would like to stress that it is a complement to physical exchange. I will show you a couple of examples there thereafter, and it actually fuels new demand for physical mobility. Very frequently, students who participate in a virtual exchange and who have never considered the opportunity to participate in a physical exchange, they end up in applying for a physical mobility after participating in virtual exchange. So this is the good element and a good aspect of virtual exchange. And to better understand what it is all about, I would like you to show some of the main differences between virtual exchange and other forms of online learning. So first, in virtual exchange, the focus is on the people-to-people interaction. And here, the educators and facilitators, they guide the interaction. While in other forms of online learning, you have students having online access to another university course content. So there, the educators provide the educational content to learners. Intercultural learning is one of the main educational outcomes in the case of virtual exchange, in addition to the course content, while the mastery of the course content plays the lead role in other forms of online learning. And to conclude, while in virtual exchange we have a great focus on the use of synchronous video communication, in other forms of online learning, communication is predominantly asynchronous. I have a photographic mindset, so I would like to share with you what is for me virtual exchange. The role of facilitators is like the hand supporting the tree to grow and develop. So that is the role that facilitators should play in a virtual exchange. And as you see on this branch, we have all hands, okay, supporting and being on that branch. I see virtual exchange as allowing an equal footing to everybody. So this is what I really like of virtual exchange. We could make a step further. Very frequently people say and confuse virtual mobility with virtual exchange. And since I like using images, I consider virtual mobility like a big umbrella under which several perspectives and several different niches can find their own shape. And virtual exchange is one of these niches. So quoting a definition which has been provided and which has been referred to in here, virtual mobility is the use of ICTs to obtain the same benefits as one would have with physical mobility, but without traveling. So the focus here is on the cooperation between the institutions and on the recognition of the achievements. While in virtual exchange, the great focus is on the interaction and communication. So it is on the exchange, on the competence building and interaction in small groups. Last image I use. So virtual exchange, as you may see here, is and requires your peers around your student, the peers around the student. Well, in the case of virtual mobility, we have, like in the image 2, we have a person in front of the screen without the need to be in touch with his or her own peers. Now, I forgot to say, if you have any questions, I would prefer you to use the chat and collect them for later on. So I suppose many of you may have questions even after this brief definition, but I would be grateful if you could keep your questions for later or use the chat in the meantime. Main 2 types of virtual exchanges and pros and cons for each of them. The main 2 models I will refer to are that of the so-called co-designed or class-to-class, as the word says. Here we have 2 or more professors and their support staff that adapt parts of their course to host a period of collaboration. Here, and I would like to insist on the fact that it requires time and effort. So training, as we do at Uni Collaboration, support and mentoring are indeed recommended. Ready-made virtual exchanges. Here we have external providers like Celia, Sharing Perspective Foundation. I have provided all the links in there and I will leave the presentation to you afterwards. Here we have external providers offering programs, highly qualified programs on various topics. And individual students may join provided that their universities have joined. Otherwise, the individual students can take part, but they would have to incur expenditures on their own. Yet, if we focus on the first type, the co-designed, we can notice that there is still much confusion about terminology. You might have heard of COIL, global classroom, telecollaboration, individual virtual classroom, global learning. They are all different terms to refer to the same topic, the same concept of designing, sitting down with your colleagues at another university or at other universities. It can also be multilateral, and designing the virtual exchange from scratches. What are the major advantages of this kind of virtual exchange? First, the students can gain knowledge regarding the course content through peer perspectives, and they learn to collaborate online. For the professors, they can add an enriching international component to their course, customize the virtual exchange to their specific desired learning outcomes, learn innovative pedagogies in their education, and strengthen their collaboration and partnerships. A virtual exchange partner is not a good partner. It needs to be a good virtual exchange partner, which, as Elena knows for sure, it requires totally different and quite a lot of features and characteristics. Ready-made virtual exchanges, the second type then. Main features, so they are usually based on a team and they are developed in collaboration with these external providers. They usually last in between 8 to 10 weeks and foresee weekly assignments to be taken care of by the students on their spare time, but also by participating in weekly facilitated sessions. Another element which is important is that the facilitators interact with the professors because they provide feedback about what has been dealt with by the students during the 2 hours a week of synchronous sessions, and providing feedback on the weekly assignments the students are asked to fulfill. I would like to stress that ready-mades are not MOOCs, they are IUCs. So the focus here is on the interactive open online course, on the interaction. And very briefly, an example thereof is the climate movements. I have summarized the main features in here, just to say that it is recognized with 6 ECTS credits, as you know, we Europe, but little by little also outside Europe speak about in ECTS. And as you may see, there are some assignments, including a video project assignment and optional readings. What are the main benefits of this kind of projects? The fact that students are exposed to a truly diverse and cross-cultural audience, because it is not just with your partner, but they are open worldwide. And second, that it is indeed a learner-led process. For the participating institutions, the major advantages are that the curriculum will include specific learning goals. These can be developed ad hoc, and everything is taken care of. So yes, it costs more in terms of financial commitment for the institution, but it costs far less in terms of time commitment for the institution, because the professors don't have to set everything from scratches. Now, I will conclude with a couple of examples I've selected 4. I hope to be able to go through them all, otherwise I will summarize briefly, because I wanted to show you different ways you can adapt virtual exchange within your institution. First example, engineering education for sustainable development. And here we have graduate students from Sweden being in touch with undergraduate students from Japan. It started in 2016, and they had to work on UN Sustainable Development Goals. This course revolves around a series of case studies of different global industrial companies such as Nike, Intel, Pfizer, and IKEA. And students were asked to prepare an oral presentation plus a written report. They were also asked to carry out individual assignments. What was the main aim behind this kind of project? Enhance learning about how projects are managed in different countries to increase intercultural awareness, but also facilitate the development of strategies to address and approach sustainably related challenges, which can accommodate a range of interrelated perspectives, including economic, social, and environmental. Main pros and cons of this kind of virtual exchange: the interdisciplinarity, not just at the level of the content, but also of the background of educators and students. The fact that students came from different perspectives. There were graduates and undergraduates involved in this project. So this was another major advantage. And also the fact that the virtual exchange facilitated internationalization of higher education, and also helped the students develop the skills needed to promote digitalization and dematerialization. There were also disadvantages, such as the time zone differences, which were sometimes problematic. And this is something to be kept into account when you work with time zone differences in time zones. What were the main lessons learned? First of all, that the fact that despite they had no previous experience in virtual exchange, these students were able to autonomously explore a variety of different tools and software to develop the basic skills required for this virtual exchange. Example 2, Euroweek. I really like this example because it well combines virtual exchange with physical mobility. So we here speak about blended mobility. Just to show you the major advantage that virtual exchange can also bring in case you combine it with a physical mobility. This was implemented by Prime Networking, a European network of 17 universities. It too involved both graduate and undergraduate students. It started in 1995 in Antwerp. That was the first annual gathering, because this virtual exchange envisages an annual conference involving both students and professors, but also students working from 2 to 3 higher education institutions working online for the 2 to 3 months before the physical gathering. During the conference, the students will then present the results they have elaborated during this exchange. And you will notice the great difference of the students who have been able to meet online first and discuss for 3 months. When they meet at the very end of this project, it looks as if they already know each other, and the approach they have and the relation they have is totally different from that of the students who have not participated in the verbal exchange. And here the main aim was to develop and advance cross-cultural and interdisciplinary training, academic program and research, and to also foster collaboration among the students of the member universities, but also in a multicultural perspective, interdisciplinary perspective, because there were not just the topics of economics and business involved. There were also other topics, because any challenge required a totally different approach. As you may understand, I'm really fond of this initiative. Major advantages: inclusive and diverse student body, precisely for what I have just told you, the multidisciplinarity of the projects, the very high satisfaction rate, the accreditation, because this initiative was accredited, and it indeed boosted the motivation of the students. The student experience and the social interaction. The disadvantage, though, was the same accreditation, because of course, it was linked to the single institution. So every institution recognizes this project in a different way. And this also means that the international dimension of the experience gets somehow lost. Another disadvantage is that it heavily relies on the investment in terms of time commitment and financial resources. And of course, if a university invests more, the commitment of the students is far higher. Lessons learned. Well, the students were also used as ambassadors, and that had a major benefit also in terms of the future editions of the initiative. The importance of the virtual exchange component to create the sense of belonging for the students. The multicultural and multidisciplinary approach, as well as the research, collaboration, and innovation, which implied that many other projects came out among professors after this initiative. Shared Garden. What I like about this initiative is the multidisciplinarity. Here we have the language practice combined with the engineering, the science experience. So we have students from Bordeaux and Lyon, different levels again. They joined forces, and that lasted for 2 iterations. So it started in 2018 and ended in 2020. But the interesting fact was that they were allowed to use part of a campus to test and design a garden under the philosophy of ecological and sustainable parameters. So they could really experiment, and the Lyon students who were graduates could help the French ones who had less experience understand how to work on the shortage of water, what to do to design and improve that aspect. They could also practice a language they were not mother tongue. They were both asked to speak in English in this initiative. Bear in mind that virtual exchanges not necessarily imply English. So don't think that they need all to be carried out in English. Multilingualism is another major advantage of virtual exchange. Of course, this enabled them to go deeper into the topic concerned. And this is the reason behind the name Shared Garden. But also they were able to improve their communication skills, which was very important for the fact that they then needed to enter the labor market. And of course, they were able to practice working in a team. Many major advantages: the engagement, the multidisciplinary approach. I will summarize now. The learning empowerment, not the same in each institution, but the students could act more and become more proactive, and the green and sustainable approach. Major disadvantages: the evaluation process, which was different and led to lack of motivation. The very first year, French students were not as happy because this activity was not recognized. And of course, the motivation was lower for them. Lessons learned. They considered the opportunity to enrich it with blended mobility, precisely for the reason I told you beforehand. And the fact that this kind of initiative can be easily adapted and launched in any other degree course and subject. And it doesn't require that teachers come from the same subjects. And now I would like to leave you with sort of an idea for something which has not frequently been considered, that is virtual exchange for the staff. I'm a great supporter of that and would like to share with you an example of an initiative carried out between German, Italian, and Moroccan institutions during the EVE initiative, Erasmus Plus Virtual Exchange, and it was planned as an opportunity for continuous professional development. And here, it was part of, this German institution was part of an Erasmus, a European University Initiative Alliance. As you know, we have these European universities, and it enabled to really boast the cooperation within the University Alliance. But it was also a way to enhance the quality of the teaching and of the working of the partner institutions. Of course, the main aims behind that were to develop staff language and intercultural skills and enable them to work with staff at other institutions, but also establish long-lasting cooperation. To summarize the major advantages and disadvantages, and here it is not the result of this initiative, this is my personal perceptions based on the experience I had with virtual exchange for staff. This is a great opportunity for staff to develop intercultural competencies and to be trained while not leaving their home institution. But it also leads some staff to disrupt one's own understanding with new insights about new ways about how they can work with individuals who act as their peers in other countries. And of course, it is a green and sustainable initiative. The major disadvantages for me, or let's call them challenges, are the evaluation. How do you recognize and evaluate the work of staff? And here I would like to touch and briefly dwell upon, but I can't, about micro-credentials, open badges, useful ways. We provide them for staff participating in virtual exchanges and training, and which can be displayed. There are various other ways. As a feedback, I don't have any reply because I would like you to fill out this little cloud once you have implemented virtual exchange for your own staff. To conclude here, why you should carry out virtual exchange. And without reading those, I would like to leave you with these quotes about how virtual exchange really opened the eyes of the participants, enabling them to see that our own perspectives is not the only one, and we can enrich our work and our daily practice thanks to the experience brought about by our peers, regardless whether we are students or teachers or administrative staff. I would here stop. I would like to really thank you for your attention. And to conclude the way we start, if you could use the chat to share with one word, what is your main takeaway from this introduction? I've left you my email, a couple of resources, and feel free to pose any questions in the chat. Yeah, I will now stop sharing my screen, and thank you again.
Thank you so much, Sara. Let's congratulate Sara for such a wonderful presentation. I'm sure even those of you who said, yeah, I know about virtual exchanges, I know a lot, and I'm even in the Erasmus project doing virtual exchanges, we have all learned so much from your presentation, starting from the history, the timeline of how it all began and established and different terminology involved and all that. Really, really interesting. Also, I think for our Israeli audience, learning about the ready-made model, I don't think we have anything like that yet in our higher education field in Israel. I don't know, maybe I'm not familiar with that. If anyone already uses such a model, please let me know, because this is new to me to hear that it's not only up to the professors to actually meet and plan and work hard and make this happen. There are also like outsource options. This is something that I didn't know about. So please open up your microphones. We are a small group. We can maybe ask Sara a question or two, and if not, I will jump into my additional slides. Even though I don't think we need any more slides after what Sara presented.
I have a question. Sara, thank you for your lecture. It was very interesting. I wanted to ask, in this exchange, what do you get as a support from the Erasmus program? And what is the capabilities that you have to come with to this? So, and how did you find collaborations?
So, as you know, the Erasmus Plus program is supporting virtual exchange through a dedicated call for application. The deadline will be the 25th of April. And we are there to support. We have a great network of institutions with which we work. And we, of course, if feel free to contact me, and also Elena has a great network. If you are looking for special partners, because as you know, in this case, for the virtual exchange call for application, we need to have a European institution, higher education institution, I shall specify, leading the partnership. So feel free to ask. Now, the kind of support that Erasmus Plus offers for virtual exchange is either through the call for virtual exchange or within blended intensive programs, which are, of course, where the online component can be a virtual exchange. But in this case, these are open for European institutions. So while third countries, I mean, in your case, Israel and other countries not participating, not considered as program countries, what we call the program country, they can participate, but the numbers won't be counted towards the budget of the initiative. And this is the kind of support being provided by the Erasmus Plus program, if that was your question. When we tested virtual exchange for the European Commission in those 3 years, we were able to offer training for free. We still offer the training, similar to what was done during EVE, but of course, enhanced further with specific modules on conflict resolution, for example, on intercultural communication, specific modules required by the institutions. But of course, I mean, the Erasmus Plus Virtual Exchange Initiative has ended, and so this can no longer be provided for free. Another kind of support we can provide, but this is for us as Uni Collaboration, is that we offer twice a year free partnering fairs for anybody interested to join. The next one will be on 14th June online, 2:30 European time, Central European time. And those are great opportunities for you to find potential partners with whom you may work. So we really encourage you to participate in these initiatives. As you know, there are many different platforms where you can find partners. The Stevens Initiative, the Coil Connect has a great instrument too. We have a search partner tool. So there are many different ways through which you can be connected. I hope I have answered your question.
Yes, thank you very much, Sara. Thank you.
Yes. Any more questions for Sara? More specifically, I don't know if you are familiar, maybe also following up on Einav's presentation, which I missed, about Erasmus Plus opportunities. And what Sara just mentioned, there is a virtual exchange, Erasmus virtual exchange call currently open for submission until April 25th, 26th. So I think 26. So if anyone is interested, you can also reach out to me, to Virtual Exchange Center. We are currently working on several proposals in different niches, different kind of values and ideas, as Rhonda discussed in her building projects session, where you need to have a common shared value where you build your project upon. So this is just like an international project. You have a theme, you have something to address, like an agenda, and you need to bring up quality staff who can actually build the curriculum, lead the virtual exchanges and sustain this initiative, including all of the features that Sara mentioned, that it's not just about online learning. It has to be peer-to-peer, student-to-student collaboration, which it actually includes the need of bringing facilitators. So you would need to take into consideration how will the students be supported, not just by the lecturer who runs the virtual exchange, but also by additional staff, maybe someone you need to, like a student teacher assistant or different just virtual exchange facilitators who can be running some breakout rooms with the students and supporting them, facilitating their project development, making this truly international, making sure that the teams are intercultural, international, and that even I heard about asynchronous virtual exchanges being an option, but again, it's not watching something online asynchronously. It means that you don't have to meet at the same time all of the 200 students who are involved, but just having those smaller groups, 5, 6, 7 students will have to meet synchronously. It's just on their own time. They have to find the time to meet. They have to record those sessions. They probably is a place for a facilitator, again, maybe not, because it's really dynamic, sometimes really student-led virtual exchanges. So there are so many different options to consider and take into consideration. And European Erasmus virtual exchange program supports up to €500,000 for the maximum grant for 3 years. So you can apply for that. Okay, so in the remaining time, we have some questions coming. And if not, I will also maybe just throw my idea. I wanted to share how I see virtual exchanges being part of higher education in Israel. I mean, it's becoming more and more, to me, it's visible that in other places all around the world, it has become much more prominent in the field, and also there is research about it. There are people who are appointed. There is a job position in the universities where universities actually appoint virtual exchange and COIL coordinators, people who are in charge of implementing this within institution and making sure that faculty can find partners and run those virtual exchanges. I think in Israel we are just a little bit behind, but we may just maybe speed up and get into this wave of amazing virtual exchanges, being institutionalized, being really becoming something much more serious and acceptable. And I think it really aligns with our keynotes, who actually mentioned that ideally we want all our students to experience a mobility, whether it's hopefully physical mobility, but even just virtual mobility. I am pretty sure that up until now we have a huge percentage of students who have never experienced any type of mobility whatsoever, neither physical nor virtual. And virtual is easier. So in terms of the pros and the advantages, Sara presented us so many obvious things that we actually have to leverage. So I wanted just to show you how I envision the place of virtual exchanges in the Israeli higher education. So I'm going to share my screen just to show you a couple of slides, and then also to show you the platform where we can start exchanging ideas. So for my own personal vision of this field, I'm an English teacher, so I come from the field of EPIC, English for Purposes of International Communication. And Sara said, you probably know the term telecollaboration, and I'm pretty sure that 90% of the audience never heard about telecollaboration, but I did because I'm an English teacher. And I have a colleague who actually ran telecollaborations, and this is how I learned about virtual exchanges many, many years ago. So implementing virtual exchanges in EPIC, in the English for Purposes of International Communication, which is an academic English program in higher education institutions in Israel now, I think it's really something that is a must. It's not yet widely acceptable or recognized or supported even. We are transitioning from the English for academic purposes towards more English for communication, and virtual exchanges offers this amazing platform for us to connect. So if anyone is interested in submitting a call for Erasmus EPIC virtual exchange collaboration, you can also reach out to me. Another field where virtual exchanges is really an important one is English as a medium instruction. We have in Israel a new initiative by Malag, which is Council of Higher Education, that actually obliges, it's a mandatory now that all undergraduate students take at least 2 courses taught in English in their discipline. So if they study psychology, if they study physics or engineering, at least 2 of their courses must be taught and delivered in English. And this is also a wonderful platform for virtual exchanges to step in, because sometimes professors and students feel that it's harder, maybe unnecessary, maybe even sometimes artificial when you have Hebrew speakers in the classroom and a Hebrew speaking professor, but everything needs to be in English for some reason. So bringing this international virtual exchange elements actually makes it much more authentic. And I guess both students and professors will value the experience more and enjoy it more. So I think virtual exchanges for EMI courses, English as a medium instruction, is also a great opportunity to be introduced. So virtual exchange is kind of, this is my vision of how everything is merged, right? Virtual exchanges actually covers both EMI and EPIC, and also offers actually on an institutional level this strategy for internationalization at home, right? We talked about virtual exchanges being this first step, not necessarily replacing physical mobilities, but maybe leading to more physical mobilities, because this could be an initial wonderful platform. So I'm a founder of the Virtual Exchange Center, which actually specializes in all of these 4 fields, and I'm just going to show you that let me see, I see the connection between everything being connected in a way that EPIC English courses can support EMI courses, because sometimes both students and professors need support in English as a foreign language. EPIC is really something closely related to virtual exchanges, and this is something that I think English teachers, English lecturers have to embrace and take as an opportunity. And again, EPIC now has merged with internationalization, even on a national level. I think, again, Council of Higher Education have merged the 2 niches, the English studies and the internationalization strategy of the university, are now like one package. So whatever support and budget the institution gets, it goes to this one direction, EPIC plus internationalization. I'm going to also explain how I see that EMI particularly relates to virtual exchanges. I think I already mentioned, but let me just maybe just go to another one, because we don't have much time. So the way virtual exchanges can support the other 3 fields that I already presented, right? The English studies in higher education, English as a medium instruction courses, and internationalization, is that on the one hand, the quality virtual exchanges has a lot of ingredients, right? You have to have careful planning. You have to have some professional development training on house and maybe externally. There are apparently ready-made courses, but I don't think our institutions will go and start like buying something outsourced, because even if we want to join the wave, I think we need to be involved in some kind of development of the field itself. So the way I see it, and I think this is the direction, we will be more involved. More higher education institutions should be involved in participating in joint or international courses and organizing joint international courses. There needs to be pedagogical support for these initiatives. And as Sara said, there are many different networks, many different organizations that already provide this support. So at least, having access to the platform that shows you all of the options, because on the one hand, you probably know there is Stevens Initiatives and Coil Connect and Uni Collaboration. And for many people here, even in this audience, many of these words are new vocabulary. words. They have never heard about these organizations. And one of the missions of Virtual Exchange Center is to actually bring these opportunities and different organizations on the map for Israeli institutions. So we know how to access them, how to find partners through these different channels. And I actually shared with you just before the conference that Virtual Exchange Center website also launched its own hub for virtual exchanges, initiatives, networking. So you can publish your university, you can share your ideas. We can have a database of academics who are already interested in virtual exchanges. Also, different organizations and universities can announce their events, their training opportunities, their partner fairs, different supports and different initiatives. So I think sometimes people say, why do you need another platform? I think we need one in Israel because it's not really widely known in the field. And I'm going to maybe just demonstrate briefly what you can do. So in the community of Virtual Exchange Center, you actually can post the name of the course that you are interested to collaborate on, and you can actually identify whether, and again, there are criteria for a virtual exchange to be counted as a virtual exchange, but it doesn't have to be perfect at the beginning. I don't want to, especially for those of you who are new to this field, I think I started with just one encounter, just one international lesson in my regular curriculum, right? But it needs planning. You need to find another class. You need to see what the students will be doing together. And maybe just thinking of a joint international course is something that is too big to begin with. But I always suggest a really small step. Just, be open to be an expert speaker, like to join somebody's lecture and interact with the students together with your students, or build in a series of 2, 3, 4 sessions. It doesn't have to be the beauty of virtual exchanges. It's not like extremely rigid. Sometimes, especially for English courses, one joint international lesson can actually be a highlight of your course, and students will enjoy it. And it doesn't require tons and tons of pre-planning like other virtual exchanges do. So you can definitely post the name of the course. It can be an English course or an EMI course, disciplinary course taught in English, or maybe in other languages, right? We sometimes have virtual exchanges that are run in Spanish, not necessarily English. I felt that there are so many different interesting events and workshops going on on different platforms. So if your university, your college, your organization is offering something interesting to this audience, to people interested in internationalization, virtual exchanges, feel free to post your announcement here as well. I'll show you the site is actually user-driven. All you need to do is just enter your information and it will appear right here automatically. Don't worry about the pictures. If I can always go and add the nice images later on, but at least we need the date and the time of your event. And if you have a registration link, share it here. Some of the fields are necessary, like the name of the event, dates, a day of the week, registration link. And some other fields are not necessary. So if you don't have to provide the description and the speaker's name, but if you want, you can, of course. So this is how we can gather more events in like one hub where we know what's going on across different organizations. We can also share ideas and resources. This is something that I've been planning to launch a long time ago, because I personally can support many different virtual exchange initiatives. I have a lot of ideas for different lesson plans, different frameworks, and there are other sources that have been developed by different hubs and different communities devoted to virtual exchanges, which I also want to add to this, enrich the library of resources. So whoever is interested and has the question where to begin, you just go to the library and you can select your idea or resource. So for now, what I did, I added, and you can also filter the information. So you can go and say, okay, I want something for my EMI, or I want something about virtual exchanges. So like you have the filters, and you can select different things. So for example, I uploaded tips for managing international educational projects that Rhonda kindly shared with the network, with the community, and I think it's a great follow-up to her presentation today. And we will add more things. So you can add actually here, you have another field where you can just provide, that's just the idea, you can submit an idea. Basically, the required field are your name, because I don't want this to be completely anonymous, the idea or the name of the resource and which category it belongs to, because there will be different things for different networks of experts. So if you have an interesting link to share, if you have a file, if you have whatever, this is where you can submit your ideas and resources, and we will build a nice library of shared expertise. And then, of course, networking. There are different hubs, different platforms where people upload information, including our Erasmus National Office. But I actually developed something that looks more beautiful, and I'm sharing this with you completely for free. I want people to have a nice place where they can upload the name of the institution and describe where they're coming from. This could be valuable when you build new initiatives, when you write new proposals and grants to see what are the specialties of different institutions. And of course, we also want to have a hub of experts and professionals, and even people who are new to this field. So you see, I have the only filter is people have an expertise. So sometimes I need an expert in something. So I will have my own nice database of experts in different things. And if you're not if you don't consider yourself an expert in virtual exchanges, but you're interested in this area, then this is where you will just mark yourself as interested in a virtual exchange and not necessarily having an expertise in this. And you can still be considered as a person who other people can reach out and maybe build a partnership with you, or for a joint course or something like that. So you don't have to be an expert in order to join and be part of this network. And I think my time is up. So I hope you will all join, and we'll continue this conversation. Do we have any questions for the remaining 1 minute before we have to finish? Okay. Thank you very much. We have now a very short coffee break, 15 minutes, and then we are going to come back for the final hour for networking and conclusions, discussions, questions. Thank you very much for your comments, and we will keep connecting and, maybe building something new and exciting. So first of all, thank you for all the guests from abroad who joined us at their different time zones. And I see you in 15 minutes. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Elena.
Thank you very much.
Thank you indeed.
Thank you. Thank you.
And enjoy the coffee break.
Thank you.